Here with Grand Isle Mayor Dave Carmardell. All right, Mayor Carmardell, been here before, won't be the last time you're going to have to deal with a hurricane. How ready are you guys for this hurricane?
Well, we're ready. It's something different. It's coming faster, and we're concerned about the water coming up 7, 8, 10 feet, and maybe 4 to 7 at the beginning. So it's just jiggling back and forth. But we wish that it would just come on through quick, and instead of just come through and let us go to work.
It's a mandatory evacuation. How many people do you expect to actually stay on the island? And if they do, what advice do you have for them?
Well, again, we looked at working with the police department, working with the council, the fire department. We think there's about 200 people. That was a couple hours ago, but they're leaving as we speak right now. And we encourage them, but we want to know where they're living, and make sure that we're doing a survey in case they need us. But if the weather gets bad, like the chief was saying earlier, if the weather gets bad, we can't get to you. So, and again, we're making sure that we want to know where you're at. But as long as the weather, if it gets worse, we can't get to you. But at least we know where you're at.
Chief Hernandez says he's going to have some guys on the road, up and down the road. How many guys do you guys expect to have just in the area taking care of things?
Well, I got a great fire department, being honest with you. They're standing by. They stay for every storm. And like I said, we got the medics here, and we got 18 policemen that's going to be patrolling, watching the area. And then I got my crew out there, working for the pumps, watching the pumps. And, it's not our first rodeo. We just tell the people to have patience. Everything's different. There was a rainmaker last week. This week is a little tide coming up with the rain. So it's not only your yards going to be filled up, it's going to be probably some of the roads filled up in the backside of the island.
And once again, for the people who actually do stay, you have somewhere for them to actually come to if they don't want to leave the island?
Yes, right here on top, the multiplex. And, some of the state trailers were taken away, and we're aware of that. And what we did, we made sure that we got shelter from here. But I want them to understand, we also had, we could go right there in Lockport, talking to Archie Chasson. He had gracious to open the doors. But the problem with that is they don't really want to go too far. And some of them moved in with their friends. And in the meantime, they know that we could put them here. And also the parish president for Jefferson Parish, she made sure to let them know that we could have some housing up there. But to put them up there in this type of weather, we're going to put them here for a little while, and we'll take care of them, I can promise you. We'll leave nobody behind, I can promise you that.
Been through so many storms. How tough is this, because you guys are still rebuilding from Ida? The levee is still being rebuilt, which looks like is really well rebuilt. Just how tough in general is this? Yeah,
I've been doing it about 38 years, but it's dealing with all the governors and working with the legislators, the congressmen, the senators and all. This is a jewel, man. You don't have no crime here. Your family can ride a golf cart. You go to the beach. We had 2,500 golf carts for 4th of July. Every weekend was packed. And for me to see all this going in the last couple of days, we had a couple of more rodeos going on. We got the women's rodeo in October, and we got the Caminada Redfish Rodeo. And like I said, we got the, just by going through all the rodeos and putting this, there's like 23 different functions going on down there. And, they love this place. And, for me, as I was coming in, I would help my cousin with the shrimp boat, had to bring his boat to Galliano with my boat, and we're hauling the rest of our boats today. And, just seeing, working the waters, and what really brought my attention this morning was to see the crab fishermen out in the lake, right off of the Grand Isle in the back, trying to save their crab traps. And they came in, and they were loading them up, and they finally bringing the cages up the road, and the shrimp boats came in, and they got rid of their shrimp, and they're tying up on the pilings, hoping that nothing seriously happens. So with the floodgates, working with the Lafourche Parish and working with the port authorities up there and our little port authorities, it's just amazing what you can get done. And I'm proud to tell you I've never lost one life. And that's something to be proud of, because you make sure that you take care of your people. We leave nobody behind.
I know you want to take care of your people, and you have this levee burrito that was built, and it's still being, built. What do you expect, and how much can it hold? And because this is a quick-moving storm. Yeah, it's not quite healed, but in the meantime, the burrito levee, we came up with that idea way back between Isidore and Lily. It was a piece of chicken with a piece of napkin, and we're going to build a burrito. And the Corps came in and they put sand in it. And it's like putting sugar and take a knife and cut in the tube. It was gone. So what we did, we asked for some clay to get on top of it. And by putting the clay hot like it's been, it's going to be harder than cement. Then you put your sand so the birds can nest on top of it. And then by doing that, I really feel that we could probably save this, but it's still fresh, but if, we're going to be finished probably by the end of the year. So after this is over with,
you know, we're going to come back. You've seen all the equipment is still there. I made them keep it there. So once the sun starts shining again, we're going to go to work. You know, and like I said, it's we got a lot of little problems here, but you know what? You know, your kids and my kids can go to the golf court, and my grandkids can go to the golf courts from your house to there, and we know where we at. You know, and then the friends, the people that love this place, come from. And look, I always say this: Destin is fine, it's blue waters, but in Grand Isle, you walk across this levee right here, which is maybe what 1,000 feet. You could throw a cast net, catch you some shrimp. You could throw a line and catch a trout. And then when you see the grandkids and the kids with a piece of cotton with 2 pipes and got chicken necks and you're catching crabs, they'll never forget that. And they can have a great time here, you know. So long as there's 1 grain of sand to plant the American flag, we ain't going nowhere.
All right, hopefully everything turns out just fine here in Grand Isle. Appreciate your time. He is Grand Isle Mayor Dave Carmardale. Back to you.